Hi everyone. So if you remember, the last lesson that we did involved square roots and perfect squares. And I sent you a link to a video that I asked you to watch to help you learn how to solve square root problems very easily and very quickly. Hopefully you all had a chance to watch it. These are just some notes that I wrote down from the video to help me remember how to solve square roots. I wrote down step 1 is memorize the squares from 1 squared down to 10 squared. Okay, memorize this from 1 squared down to 10 squared. Step 2 says look at the last number of the square root and find which number, when squared, ends with the same number. So for example, the square root of 3,136, it says, first of all, have this memorized so that I can jot it down on a paper somewhere if I'm taking a test, for example. Step 2, look at the last number of the square root. So in this case, the last number or digit is 6, and find which number, when squared, so again, which number here, when squared, ends with the same number as this last number here. So again, it's a 6. I'm going to go back to the squares, and I'm going to look for which square ends in a 6. So we have 4 square ends in 16. That's 1. We also have 36. Okay, and that's 6 squared. So again, I would write down next to, I'm going to put this down over here so we can see it better, the square root of 3,136. And we said 4 squared ends in a 6. Also, 6 squared ends in a 6. So I'm going to write those down, those base numbers. Okay? Then I have to cross out 36. I have to cross out the last 2 numbers here. Cross out the last 2 numbers. Now looking at the list of the squares, I see again 4 squared and 6 squared end in the same number, 6. So the second digit of the answer will either be a 4 or a 6. And again, that's why I wrote those here. The second number in this answer to the square root of 3,136, the second number is going to be either a 4 or a 6. To find the first digit of the answer, you have to ask yourself, what number squared will give me an answer close to, but not more than, the remaining numbers? So these were the remaining numbers, 31. What number, when I square it, gives me a number that is either 31 or less, not more? So looking over at our squares list, we notice 5 squared gives us 25. That is the closest to 31 without going over. So that means the first digit in my answer to the square root of 3,136 is going to be 5. So I'll write that over here, 5. Now we know 5 squared is 25. 31 is greater than 25, so that means we choose the greater of the two base numbers from the beginning of the problem. I know it seems complicated, but I would really, really hope that you get a chance to watch the video that I sent you and to do practice, more practice like this, to help you become more familiar with how to solve these problems this way. It really becomes very simple after the first couple of problems. Okay, so the answer here would be 56. Again, this was our first digit in the answer. The second digit is the 6. We chose the 6 instead of the 4 because what was left was 31, and 31 is greater than 5 squared. So we went with the greater of the two numbers. Okay, if I wanted to check my answer, I could do that on our calculator. Turn it on. Always clear it. And we're going to do second because we want the green function. Okay, the green function that's right above x squared. So now we have square root of 3,136 equals, and there you have it, 56. Okay, let's do another one. If I asked for, let's see, the square root of 225. Okay, 225. Again, I'm looking at my last digit here, and that's a 5. I'm going to go over to the squares list that hopefully we can be able to write down from memory if it's not given to us. Okay, so looking here, what number, when it's squared, ends with a 5? 5 squared. That's it. No other number, which makes it easier, right? I don't have to choose between two numbers. So again, the second digit is going to be this base number. Okay, and then the second step told me to cross out these two numbers, and I'm left with 2. Now let's go back and do the same thing. What number here, well, it's not really the same thing, but I'm going back to my squares list, and I'm asking myself, what number, when I square it, gives me either a 2 or less? And the only answer is 1. 1 squared gives me 1. I can't go more than 1 because 2 squared is 4. That's more than 2. So I can't use it. I can't use this 2. We're going to go with 1. So the first digit in this answer is 1, and the second is 5. That makes our answer 15. Okay, we'll check here. Go to clear. Again, I'm going to click on second. Right here is my square root button. I'm going to click on that. And I want 225 equals 15. Okay? And one more. Let's do one more. How about 361, the square root of, sorry about that, 361. Pause the video and try it. Okay, so we have a 1 here, a 1. We're going to go back to our list of squares. Which square ends in 1? 1 squared does, and 9 squared does. So we're going to write those two base numbers down, 1 and 9. Okay, so I know the second digit here in this answer is either a 1 or a 9. Now cross out the last 2. I'm left with 3. I gotta go back to the squares list and say which number squared ends in a 3 or less. Again, the only answer here is 1 squared, because 2 squared is more than 3. I can't use it. So that means the first digit in the answer is this base number, 1. Three is greater than 1 squared. Therefore, I'm going with the greater of the two numbers that I had in the beginning. So my answer is 19. And again, I'll check on my calculator to make sure. Second square root of 361 equals 19. Okay. You might think it's not really important to go through all this, right, to learn how to do it by memory or this long way when we have calculators. And that's true, but if on the GED exam, for example, you get a square root problem and you're not given the choice to use a calculator, what do? Okay, so it's just helpful to know a second way of solving it, just kind of like a backup in case you don't have the opportunity to use a calculator. Okay, send me any questions that you have. And I will be showing you, if you give me just a minute, I will be showing you what I would like for you to enter on IXL.com. Okay, on IXL.com, if you search square root, search square roots, you will see the first 3 or 4 lessons. The first 3 or 4 lessons that come up are very similar to what we were just going over in this video. Okay, it's great practice. It's squares, perfect squares, and square roots. So again, I will be, I'll be on my end of IXL.com looking to see whether or not you're working on it, or if you're doing more than one lesson of square roots, which would be great. Extra practice is always helpful. And I'm going to be there also if you need any help. Send me a message on Remind. Maybe you can't find the lesson on IXL.com, or maybe you're struggling with understanding how to do it. Just, send me a message and I'll do my best to get back to you and help you out. Okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.